I'm joined today by Liam Darmody. Liam is a personal brand strategist and the founder of Liam's Brand Stand, serving up freshly squeezed brand strategy. I had the pleasure of working with Liam for one of his LinkedIn Jam sessions. And after 1 hour, I learned more about LinkedIn than after 10 years on the platform. Liam, huge congratulations on the launch of this already successful venture. And thank you so much for joining me this morning on Couple of Conversations.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to chop it up with you. When we had our first conversation, I was like, man, that was really great. That was like, there's some conversations you have every week that are like, that was a really great addition to my week. And then when we had the follow-up conversation, it was even better. So I'll chat with you whenever you want.
Awesome. Well, hopefully today I don't disappoint. So, to dive in, I would love to know more about your background. Do you mind walking me through your journey? How did you get to where you are today?
So I went to college in DC. I thought I wanted to be a politician or a lawyer. I changed my mind pretty quickly when I got there and wound up studying international relations because that's what American University was really good at. I got into recruiting. I was super stoked. I was like, this is great. You know, I got $40,000 a year. That's the best. I was so pumped. And then worked really hard the rest of that year, went into recruiting in the agency world, got a little bit sort of tired of the agency side. And I think the reason for that is I'm really a culture guy. I love being in the mix. I love being at the company that I'm working with. So I went corporate and worked at a startup company as a recruiter for a little while. And then eventually my number came up. We got acquired by a company. I ended up having to put my own severance package together and exit myself from the business, which was kind of awesome. Went to Europe for a while, came back. Some friends of mine started a company called Living Social. At the time, it was called Hungry Machine, and they had just launched when Facebook opened their API. And so they were seeing massive success, and they just wanted to get more bodies and brains in the door to help them scale. And that turned into an idea like Living Social. I was the 20th employee there and helped build the company to about 5,000 employees globally in 5 years, which was a pretty big endeavor. Then I went to a couple other startup companies, and then I got a call from a consulting firm that was looking for a revenue operations director. They interviewed me for the position. The chief marketing officer said, I want to build a recruitment marketing and employer branding team. And it's really sort of a strategic role here. You know, we're talking about at the board level, we need to hire a lot of technical talent, and technical talent's not easy to find, as you know. And we want somebody that can kind of put together a highly scalable engine for doing this, but in a personal way. And he said, I think you could be really good at this. And I said, I don't have any experience doing branding. What are you talking about? And he was like, well, sure you do. You do it every day on LinkedIn. I see it. I want you to do what you do on LinkedIn for yourself, for our company. And that's where like I had a light bulb moment, right? It was like, wow, if I had applied for this position with my resume, I would have been flat out rejected immediately. But because I had been showing my passion for doing this stuff, I got this opportunity to pivot my career a little bit. And that is really powerful. So I did that for 2 years. We got acquired. 6 months later, got laid off. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to teach people how to use this platform to manifest some of that type of opportunity. And you've heard me say LinkedIn is not a social media platform. It's a serendipity manifestation platform, which is cheesy and it's a mouthful, but it's true. You know, if you put yourself out there on this platform, it takes care of you, and a lot of opportunity finds your doorstep.
Well, I'm so grateful that your journey took you to where it did because ultimately we got to meet as a result. And like I said, you've
Yeah.
helped me already just from one hour with you. So I know you're a hot sauce aficionado, and I wish I was cool like that. I can barely handle ketchup, but I am curious about your special sauce. What is your special sauce? What makes you exceptional at brand strategy?
I think it's that I don't really have a ton of inhibition anymore. I'm just myself. I think that too many people view being themselves online as something to be scared of, and they tiptoe around it, and they're kind of like, well, what if somebody sees what I say and they don't like it, or it means that I don't end up, you know, they pass me up on an opportunity. And I used to think that way too. And you know, so that's totally natural. I think especially on LinkedIn, people are kind of confused about how to use LinkedIn as a content medium because it's tied to your professional career. But I got to a certain point where I was just like, this is who I am, whether I'm at the office, whether I'm at home. You know, at home I cuss a little more than I do in the office, but like more or less, like I'm the same person any way you get me, right? And I learned that I felt a lot freer when I just acted like myself and focused more on the people who were attracted to that, as opposed to thinking about and worrying about the people who were potentially put off by that, And so I've shifted my mindset from what if somebody doesn't like what I'm putting out and it ends up taking opportunities away, to more so if they don't like what they see, then great. Like, they're saving us time. Like, why go through the interview process? Why go through a discovery call? Like, if you see what I'm putting out there and it's not your bag, then power to you, go find somebody who is. Instead, I'm focused on making sure that I'm connecting with the people that my personality does resonate with. And I think that is the secret sauce. I think that people who can be themselves without any inhibitions and without worrying too much about the backlash, quote unquote, or being judged, those are the ones that are the most successful at building a personal brand.
I appreciate that. And I think that's why I was so drawn to you, not because of just the cussing. I just appreciate your authenticity. I think having your authentic voice is great. And it was great reinforcement for me as well. And I'll keep using those 4-letter words. You mentioned LinkedIn. Regarding LinkedIn, I bet you have a lot of people knocking at your door specifically for help with the platform. I'd love to know, what are some of the biggest challenges people have with LinkedIn?
I think it's shifting the mindset of what it is and what it's becoming. LinkedIn is the oldest social platform, if you think about it. Like, it was around before Twitter, around before Facebook. It started as this place to store your contacts from offline, online, right? Just shift your Rolodex to a digital format. And back then, that worked because most people were kind of like still new to the internet and weren't really familiar with social media. That utility function made a lot of sense. But fast forward 20 years later, and everybody's familiar with social media. Everybody's on social media for the most part, some capacity. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, of course I'm connected to people that are in my network online. Like, who isn't, right? So LinkedIn's over here trying to find another way to stay relevant besides just job hunting or just finding prospects to sell. They have 1 billion people on their platform, but only 25% of them use it on a monthly basis, and only a single digit percentage of them are creating content on it. So there's this weird sort of stigma around it. People are like, I shouldn't be myself there. I shouldn't post content there. I don't want to be too personal there. I don't know what to say. I don't know where to start. I don't know who cares about my voice, who cares about what I have to say. Like, I remember when I first started posting, I was thinking to myself, well, I'm not worthy to share my positions on things because I'm not an expert. And I think a lot of people have that view, but everybody's opinion matters. And, I think at the end of the day, you're contributing to a conversation. And that's what LinkedIn wants, right? 5 years ago, I got the email that was like, LinkedIn wants you to join the conversation. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's no conversation happening on LinkedIn. It's just people sharing, HBR articles and whatever the latest earnings report comes out and what your CEO shared. And then I started to experiment with writing some articles, and I noticed that people were responding to the articles, not necessarily in the open, but they'd DM me and be like, that article resonated so much with me. And I was like, there's something here. And, I didn't really pick up on it or continue doing it for the longest time. But anyways, that's a long-winded way of saying that I just feel like people don't really know to use it as a content platform. And they don't know where to start when they do decide they want to do that. And that's the biggest challenge, I think, for most folks.
I heard the statistic recently that said, regarding social media, 90% of people are observers,
Mm-hmm.
9% comment, like, reshare, and only 1% actually contribute. Is that in line with what you've seen? Is that, you mentioned, at least you nodded at it, is that 1% what you've really seen as well, only contributing?
That's supposedly the number on LinkedIn. It might be in the 2 or 3% range now, but yeah, that's what people say, and it doesn't surprise me. I think a lot of people are intimidated. I think there's people who have been on social media sites for long enough that they're almost like, "Ugh, not another one." They're kind of like, I'm burned out. I don't want to find another place to create content online. And they're just also maybe a little bit jaded, right? Like, the social media gets a bad rap, but rightfully so. There's a lot of negativity on most social media platforms. And there's just this idea that you're doom scrolling and filling time, and you don't really get a ton out of it. Whereas for me, I view LinkedIn as more of a investment in yourself and in your career and in relationships and your network. And so it's less about consuming content, it's more about connecting with other humans, and that's ultimately my favorite thing to do on earth. So That's why I think I spend so much time here.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And I saw something you said the other day in response to a "Is LinkedIn too fluffy" kind of article, but I really appreciate you were like, what's the problem with being on a platform full of positivity and great energy? And I mean, we get enough negative. We have a barrage of negative, energy and information from news, from people. It's really refreshing in some ways that this platform, probably because people are worried their boss is on there or their coworkers, they keep themselves a little bit more in check. Would you agree that that might be there's some governance that's kind of baked into how it's set up, and that's not necessarily a bad thing?
100%. There's a self-policing mechanism at play on LinkedIn, and it's a good thing. There's just most people are content to post on the platform if they show up, and they don't want their boss or their clients or their colleagues to see them being an unhinged asshole, right? Like you don't want that version of yourself to be out in the open. Maybe you do on Facebook where you have a closed network and not as many people can see what you're saying. But on a platform like LinkedIn, where every action you take is essentially a micro ad for your personal brand, you damn well better be strategic about it. And I don't mean strategic in the sense that you're overthinking it and like trying to be too calculating, but try to uplift people, try and be positive, try and carry yourself in a way that shows people why it would be good to work alongside you or partner with you. And I think that's great. Like, there's so much negativity in the world. If there's one place where we can all go and stand each other up and support each other and root each other on and have some empathy, let there be that place, right? I think that's so valuable and so important. And people who are like, it's cringe and everybody's just like making up stories, and there's all these like parody accounts on other social media platforms that make fun of people who are posting things on LinkedIn. And it's like, can you just, all you trolls, just chill out? Like, just let us be. Like, let humans who care about humans show up in a place to care about each other. If you can't like people who are nice, like, then just go back to whatever cave you crawled out of. Like, I get so tired of all that negativity. Sorry, I get fired up about it because it's just, I was featured on a couple of those parody accounts, and it's like, you really have nothing better to do than make fun of other human beings on social media. Like, come on, give me a break. Like, how sad is your life?
Yeah, well, I wasn't necessarily one of the trolls ever posting, but I've admitted to you even I had such a hard time because I have of fear, to be honest. It just comes from a place of insecurity. I look at these people, yourself included, who are sharing so authentically and consistently. There's this feeling of insecurity. That's largely where that comes from, is that I certainly didn't feel like I could post a video of myself or, put my written word out there, because heaven forbid I'd be judged. And I was. I have no doubt I am and was and will continue to be judged for it. And people who really know me, they're like, Lauren, you're not a cheese ball. Like, I know who you are. Like, I feel like a cheese ball sometimes doing this. And then, I have to realize, like, I'm the same cheese. If I'm a cheese ball, then I'm consistent, at least. I'm the same person that you meet, that the next person meets. And I think it can be hard if you never meet the human being. Sometimes that can be challenging to just know the facade, and you wonder, is that person really who they say they are? But it takes an extra beat to meet them and get to know them as a human being. So I really appreciate the platform's uplifting. It's been a safe space for me to start to build a business in front of. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, it's great. Love it.
Yeah, and I know for you as well, continuing to build out Liam's brand stand on here and having the ability to have a community around it. So, my last LinkedIn question is actually about followers. So, speaking of contributing, I only in the last few months have been contributing more regularly to the platform and building Coupolo and building my personal brand. And I'm amazed at how I started to, and I'm not on any other social media platform, but I started to feel like, ooh, I don't really have that high of a follower count. And this was this weird, like, people would ask me, like, how big is your account? I'm like, oh, I didn't know we were in this measuring contest here. Okay. Well, it's not very high. I have like 1,600 followers, right? I've noticed this sort of agony and stress over the number. My husband is a really wise, very sage soul, and he said to me, Lauren, how many people were at our wedding? I'm like, I don't know, like 127. He's like, yeah, like if you have, 1,000 something impressions, like, could you even fit all of them in a room? No. And they weren't, like, it's all perspective. So I'm curious if you still, with how big your follower count is and how much influence you have, do you ever still worry about the number? Do you ever get that kind of insecurity that I was expressing? That's only a new creator feeling, I suppose, or maybe it lasts forever. I don't know.
Great question. First off, I just want to commend you for thinking about it critically, whether you're married to a sage, wise soul or not. The way that you're approaching it is that you're looking at it from an objective lens. And I tell people often who complain about impressions and engagement and all that stuff, I'm like, oh, you only got 3,000 impressions today. Oh, that's so terrible. Like, this is what 3,000 people look like in a room. It's an auditorium, right? Like, when's the last time you walked anywhere and spoke in front of that size of an audience? And when you phrase it that way, people are like, oh, I guess you're right. Right. And so, like, just think about, and the other thing is that there is this very interesting thing about LinkedIn where people almost measure their success on the platform on a daily basis. So it's like, if my post doesn't go as far or as wide or has as much engagement as I would like, then I must suck at this and I need to stop. But if you take a step back and you look at it from a monthly basis, that 1,000 impressions that you have every single day ends up being 30,000 impressions. And that's a great, starting point. Great starting point. That's great regardless, right? But, like, I think that's the challenge. And it's almost strange because people are, again, viewing LinkedIn through the lens of other social media, where it's like, oh, I have to have tons of followers. I have to have tons of engagement. I have to be a star. If you can get a following of 1,000 people and 5% of those people are engaging and commenting on your content on a regular basis, you're having an impact in the world. And that matters. And it's a bigger impact than you can have in your neighborhood, at your employer, in your general day-to-day exchanges with other human beings. And so I think people need to reframe their view on it and say, well, what's the positive that is coming out of this? And am I enjoying this? Like, are you enjoying writing? Cool. Like, write and just enjoy it for yourself and see what happens, and people are in such a hurry to get to this certain status that, and I get it, because LinkedIn has all these people that are just like, grow from 0 to 60,000 followers overnight. And it's like, yeah, you're not doing anything shady that way. Like, you've got people on LinkedIn who have been on the platform for 10 years coaching people and they've got 50,000 followers. You came here 6 months ago and you have 100 and you did it totally organically. Bullshit. There's no way that's true. And so it then creates this pressure for new people on the platform who are like, well, I'm never going to get to that point, and they get all dejected. And that's why that stuff bothers me. I'm very, very critical of growth hacks and engagement pods and all the traditional social media shenanigans that happen elsewhere should not belong on LinkedIn, because it's really just a place for you to be yourself and talk about the things and build connection with people who that resonates with. And so I try and encourage people not to think about it. That being said, everybody's going to. Numbers are numbers. You're going to associate success with them. I personally do not really think about follower growth all that much. I have grown slower than a lot of people that are sort of in my sphere. I think because I've always, for the majority of my time on this platform, I've used it as just a way to talk about what fascinates me rather than being very specific about a certain topic. So now you see me sort of really focusing on personal branding and kind of more of a niche message, which has resulted in better engagement, more followers at a faster clip. But for the first 3 years, I was just kind of like, people were like, your shit's all over the place. Like, what do you even care about? And I'm like, I'm just here to talk to people. I'm not here to make money. I'm not here to do anything. And so I've grown slower, but that's okay. It's just, I at the end of the day, am I having good conversation and am I putting content out there that I feel good about? That's really what matters the most.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I think keep saying that message, because it can be easy to lose sight of what's really important because there's so much external pressure. And I think going back even to, I don't know if it's our Neolithic or Paleolithic brain, I don't remember which one, but the
Yeah.
idea of being a part of a tribe, we crave, being a part of a community. And so that those numbers are reflective of that belonging. So keep sending out the right message.
Let me just turn that back on you though. Are you following a lot of people? Are you connecting with a lot of people? That's a big thing that a lot of people miss. People are like, why aren't people following me? It's like, well, following takes a long time. Most brands have to put calls to action all over things. They have to say, follow us. Like, it's not necessarily always intuitive. So I always encourage people, if you want to be followed, follow other people. They're more likely to follow you back. And that's also new to LinkedIn, right? Twitter, it's like follow for follow, follow for follow. Here, it's not the same. And I don't think people are necessarily thinking, well, this person's following me, I should follow them back. So take that extra step. That helps. Do you find yourself doing that or not as much?
Intentionally, yes, I pick specific people. I
Awesome.
try to tune out some of the noise. So I'm a little bit hesitant at times. Like I don't just follow people because they follow me. I'll look, and if I like their voice, I like what they're saying, right? Just like in real life, like we're not friends with everybody. Our tribe, actually, the people we really care about is pretty damn small because it has to be. We
Mhm.
just only have so much capacity. So yes, I follow people. I try to be very intentional so that my feed is designed to highlight the things that I'm really interested in and connect me with the right types of people so I can also have a good impact on their life too. So I think that's great advice. Following people, commenting on the stuff that you really believe in. I'm also still working on that following our jam session here. I I'm a little hesitant still about sharing or commenting because if I like something, I might not always then comment saying, I really like this. I feel like that's what the like button is for. And so I don't always feel like I've got something to say and I don't want to just say it to say it. So I'm still finding a balance of how to add meaningful value and a meaningful word, not just, I really like this or something, you know. Switching gears here, I would love to talk to you about powerlifting. Huge congratulations to you on joining the 1,000 pound club. And for listeners who don't know what that is, that's the culmination of that total weight across three major powerlifting moves: deadlifting, squatting, and bench press. So, Liam, congratulations. How did you discover the sport of powerlifting?
Sort of by accident. So I live in this neighborhood in North Carolina, and there's all these people that are in my neighborhood who go to this gym, and it's almost like a cult. Like I was like, why are all these people going to this place? Like, what's so great about this place? And I kind of resisted it for the first year or two, and then I guess middle of June last year, maybe in May, I was basically in the worst shape I've ever been in. I was pretty miserable, and I've always battled weight and in my life, but was never really great about going to get help for it. And I was one of those people that was like, oh, I'll just buy a boxing bag and go and hit the boxing bag. But you're never going to work out as hard in your garage as you would with somebody or a room full of people doing the same thing. So my wife and I started going together to this gym, and it was great because of the community component. You talk about how the Paleolithic or Neolithic like desire to be part of a community is ingrained in all of us. And that was for me one of the experiences that was so magical about it is like I got there and people were just cheering me on. It didn't matter if I was lifting a lot of weight or less weight. And the time flew by because you're just, they're professionals. Like you do 45 seconds of this, then you go on to something else, you move on. Like, so I never found myself viewing it as a chore. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the first 2 months, I was miserable. I was sore. I was feeling terrible. And then slowly but surely, like I started to get more strength. I started to feel better about myself. I started looking forward to going. And then this 1,000 pound challenge thing came up at the end, and I was like, oh, I'll go and watch. I didn't really anticipate that I was gonna do anything, and I just kept going and kept going and kept going, and I somehow managed to lift above 1,000 pounds across those three exercises without even like I did it by 20 pounds, so I was just over the edge. But um, considering where I started, I was really proud of myself. And now I wouldn't call myself a power lifter by any stretch, but I'm having fun with it in a way that I've never had fun with exercise before. And so who knows, maybe I will become one. I don't know, but it's been fun just to focus on taking care of myself and sense of accomplishment. I go every day before I start working, so I've accomplished something that day and I feel better about myself mentally. And for me it's just like I'm a very black or white immediate results kind of person. And having been somebody who has kind of neglected my weight for almost 30 years, like I have to shift my mindset and be like, this isn't going to happen overnight, you dumbass. Like you got to be consistent, and you got like everything, right? Like consistency is the key to success. And so, I need to be more mindful of that. But it's been fun. I feel cool when I lift something heavy.
Right. I do also Olympic powerlifting. So
Amazing.
that's yeah, it is really talk about feeling like a badass. I'm not really an athlete, but I ended up discovering powerlifting almost 3 years ago now, and I've just fallen in love with this sport. You mentioned being proud of yourself. So I lift 5 days a week. I love how I get to be proud of myself. Like and in a way that I had never experienced before. Because my next question is actually correlated to this new business venture of yours. I'm wondering if powerlifting has been a sort of guidepost for you, because for me, it has. The concept of lifting to failure. You're embracing your limitations. You're in pain. You're just straight up uncomfortable. And I've never been more uncomfortable than since starting Coupolo. And so I actually use weightlifting as a metaphor for me. It's like, I don't always want to go down to my scary Fight Club basement and grab that iron bar, which tears up my hands. And I don't always want to go to failure where I feel like shit and I'm on all fours. Like today, I was nearly passing out just from the lift I was doing. And it's not always that intense, but I feel so proud when I'm done. I'm like, good job, Lauren. Like, and I thank myself every time, because I didn't always. I let
Yeah.
myself go for many years as well. Has being uncomfortable, has lifting to failure, has pushing yourself in this capacity translated over for you in your business?
I've never actually, that's a phenomenal question. And I don't know if I've actually ever thought about it that seriously, but now that I am, I'd say absolutely. I mean, I think that there's this element of like, well, at least I did that today, right? When you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur and it's the first time that you've ever started your own business, it's very lonely and you have a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of those like negative self-talk in your mind and you're kind of like, is this the right thing? Should I have done this? I didn't get a client today. This is a failure. Everything's going to hell. You talk about a day by day roller coaster, right? Like that is what it's like having your own business. And if I go to the gym, at least I can say, well, at least I'm taking care of myself today, and at least I'm doing something to better my own body and my mind. And yeah, that definitely has an impact, I think, because ultimately that's the most important thing, right? If my business doesn't end up being, wildly successful, and I decide that I want to go back to working in corporate or at a startup company, that's okay. I can always do that, right? But your body is, your temple, right? So, and I've never viewed it that way. Still not really viewing it that way. I messaged my wife this morning, and after I logged my food from last night, and I was like, I got to stop eating Sour Patch Kids. That shit has a lot of carbohydrates in it.
They're
But
so
like,
good though.
oh, they're so good. And my kids, like every time we go to the grocery store, my kids want to buy a bag of them. And I'm like, well, it's for the kids. And then I eat half the bag. And so, yeah, but yeah, I would say it's definitely been a big help for me. And I'm now at the point where I feel like if I don't do it, I have a worse day. And that's something I've always heard people talk about, but never experienced myself firsthand. So it feels kind of cool that way.
Well, I say this without an ounce of condescension. I'm very proud of you. I think it's extremely
Thank you.
admirable, and especially because I get the sense we were on a similar journey and had to course correct, and finding the joy in it and really finding that sort of, like you said, that self-pride. You have to fill your own cup, because in a day where a lot of stuff doesn't fill your bucket, there's so much BS that's a part of running a business, and there's so many challenges I've never could have foreseen. It's so great that if I already feel good and proud of myself, then the rest of the day in some way is extra. And I appreciate that I have that approach, and weightlifting's really helped me with that. So my last question for you today, as we are at the beginning of a new year, and this is your first full year as a business owner, what is top of mind for you in 2024?
Top of mind for me in 2024 is focus, and um, pushing myself outside of my comfort zone a little further. And I think the reason that I say that is that I have some self-limiting beliefs that are will prevent me from being as successful in my endeavors as I would like to be. One of them, for example, being self-promotion, right? Like, well, if I don't sing my own praises and fill my own cup, as you say, um, then who's going to do it? Nobody, right? And I'm fortunate that some people are saying very nice things about me, and I'm getting a lot of word of mouth business. But if I really want to take it to the next level, I need to get comfortable with the idea that there's a value to what I do, and I can command a price for that value, and that's okay. I shouldn't feel guilty about charging people for what I know, or talking about how much I know. But I was raised in a family that you don't self promote and you don't brag, and that's how I kind of always thought about it. So focusing on getting out of my comfort zone more is my goal for 2024.
I think that's very admirable. And I can understand how challenging it is, the sales component for sure. I think that it's also endearing in a lot of ways. So if you don't mind my saying as much, I think that there's a fine line to walk where you are promoting yourself as the expert in your space, and then there's people who slam you over the head with all of their truth bombs and all their free advice or not so free advice. I have never been a traditional salesperson, traditional in the car salesman type of way, and I think it's worked out well for me. And I similarly see that what you do, you're excellent in, and being around
Thank
you,
you.
it's infectious. So people who work with you, who are in your orbit, are going to help do the heavy lifting, and that's okay too. I think trusting that the people you work with can be your mouthpiece too. There's something really great about that, and that's the best. That's what we all hope for, is that you've got a whole bunch of people out there apostolating for you. You don't have to do as much, but I think getting comfortable with receiving some of those compliments and also, putting yourself out there. So I wish you the best of luck. I will be one of those people out there in the orbit
Thank you.
apostolating for
Appreciate
you.
that.
And thank you so much for joining me today. I am so grateful for every bit of time that we've spent today and prior to, how much I've learned from you. I think this is going to be a phenomenal year for you, both personally and professionally. And just keep lighting up your corner of the world, because you're helping people like me do the same for them.
I really appreciate it. Hey, can I ask you one question before we go?
Of course.
Do your listeners know how you came up with the name for your business?
I don't believe so.
Can
I
you
wish
tell
I could.
them?
Yeah, I wish I could take
I
credit
think it's
for
pretty
it.
awesome. That's okay.
Um,
You don't have to take credit. You take credit for knowing it was a good idea.
yeah. Well, so one night when I realized that in order to form an LLC, you have to have a company name, I was using a whiteboard and I wrote out all this crazy shit, all the words I liked, thinking that was a good place to start. And my husband, Peter, comes in and he's like, "Hey, I have an idea, if you want to hear it." And he's very good about not just spewing me with free advice. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take anything, because I don't think I can name my company Awareness. That's the best word I got going on right now." And he's like, "Well, what about, like, you're a huge coffee drinker. What about instead of a cup of Joe, a cup of Low?" My nickname growing up was Low. And so cup of Low came together, and not being a real word, I thought, this is great. I never Googled it beforehand. And if anyone ever wants a good laugh, they can go to Urban Dictionary and look up what it means. But I didn't do that before. And so there's a more wholesome meaning behind the word that I chose based off of what Peter said.
Wait, now I'm over at Urban Dictionary trying to understand what. Hang on. Wow, that's amazing.
Isn't that great?
Even better. That's even better. I
You know
love
what it
that.
is? It's sticky.
And there you go. That's perfect. Yeah, no, I think it's great. I personally, you use the term "fill my cup," cup of low, all good. I'll never be able to forget it in that sense now, but I will do my best to remain wholesome when thinking about it.
Thank you. I
That's
appreciate it.
incredible. I love that I asked that question because you and I didn't talk about that the first time.
No, that's
That's
only
magic.
I've reserved that story for only a select group of people who could handle Urban Dictionary's definition.
I love it. That is remarkable.
Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate, and just being in, like I said, your orbit. And I think if anybody wants help with LinkedIn or getting their voice out there, building their personal brand, which is so important, not just today, but tomorrow, and I think forever, please reach out to Liam. He's awesome.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being on here with you.